All right, hello everyone. Welcome to a new panel for this independent thought channel. We are doing something a little bit different today where I'm asking my panelists here to bring me two different pieces of the news. A piece of the news that is pissing them off and a piece of the news that is giving them a little bit of hope. But before we do any of that, we're just going to go around a little bit here and have everyone introduce themselves, starting over to my left. Fresh Faces, New Ideas. Tell everyone, like what you do and what your political leanings are.
Yeah, I am Fresh Faces New Ideas. I stream sometimes. I stream for a couple hours on Twitch at twitch.tv/. Fresh Faces New Ideas. You can find me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. I am a Bernie bro, and yeah, you should come out and hang out in my streams. And I talk to people. It's fun.
All right. And next, going down to Sen.
All right. Hello. I am Sen Streams. It is spelled Seine, and you were going to pronounce it wrong, most likely. Thank you for getting it right, Desmond.
Not this time.
I do left-leaning political content and games. I'll go on panels every once in a while when someone invites me, and I will, if you come and chat, we'll just have a cozy time. And we'll talk about anything you want. That's pretty much it.
All right. And next over to Katarina.
Hello, I'm Katarina. You can call me other things, but just use cat or Katarina or whatever, as long as it doesn't sound stupid. I'm an astrophysicist, but I'm also a Twitch streamer at times. I'm hoping to try streaming a bit more now that I am somewhere that has stable internet. My political leanings are generally left, but I don't give myself labels because labels are stupid. Ooh. And if you would ever like to feel like an idiot scientifically, but really smart socially, come to my channel. Pew pew.
All right. And to our first time panelist, Frey. Frey, how you doing today? You have to unmute yourself.
That's the noob in me right there. Doing all right. By the way, I prefer Fry. That's just how my family pronounces it.
Fry.
And first name's Michael. There's too many Michaels in the world, so it's just easier to go by Fry. First time here. Grew up pretty much sheltered on the right, and I'm pretty embarrassed on some of my old opinions, and have since moved center to left, and that's where I'm at now.
All right. And finally up to sixth.
Thank you for not making me fall off the astrophysicist. I don't think I could have followed that one in any kind of good way. But I am Six Samurai, a variety streamer. We do mostly gaming, but we do also do leftist politics. You'll find me on panels much like this one. However, I'm Canadian, so you won't hear me specifying American politics a lot. Like here today, I'm going to be bringing up some Canadian politics about what I'm happy about, not what I'm unhappy about, and maybe use that as the lead into something else. But yeah, come by the channel if you just want to hang out, you want to learn about Canada, you want to learn about leftism, or you just like my voice. That works too. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch, the exact same name.
You're not the only Canadian. Boo, you're not special.
Also,
who's
Fred,
the
there's
other-
nothing wrong with being right wing to going into
Who's the other Canadian? I must fight you.
I'm a proper Canadian. I'm a Montrealer, so.
Oh, you want to fight about it then? Okay. I'm Montrealer.
So we have a little bit of a different style here today where I ask the panelists to bring their own news. Like normally panels just, I tell you what the topics are and you come here with your knowledge. But today I'm asking you to bring the knowledge, with you from your own different experiences. Does anybody want to go first? Particularly before I just have to ask somebody to go first. And should we start with the good stuff or the bad stuff first?
Ask another real question.
I say we should start with the bad stuff so that we can end on a really chipper skippity doo dah note.
I love it. All right, so we're going with bad stuff first. Does anyone want to start with their story that's pissing them off?
I mean, I can if no one
All right,
wants.
Fresh Faces, New Ideas. You are first then.
All right, so I'm going to preface this by saying my story is kind of two parts. My story is essentially every time there's Texas is in the news, it's always depressing. There is hasn't been good news coming out of Texas in 3 years. The best news that came out is that their power grid is still holding. But more specifically, more specifically the last like 2 days. It's the Uvalde stuff with the fact that the officers are they're suing basically in court to keep their camera footage hidden. And it also appears that not only did they not attempt to open the door, they actually had a crowbar that they could have used to open the door as well. But the real one is the platform that came out yesterday from the Texas GOP, which not only said that Joe Biden is not the rightfully elected president, it basically said that gay people is. Hold on, let me find the direct actual wording that they used in this, so I don't get this wrong. Is an abnormal lifestyle choice, and yeah, that's just some of the highlights of where that came from. They also said that life has to be students have to be taught life begins at fertilization. So that's where we're going with Texas. It's good to know that this is this is the party that the wealthiest person in the world has believed is stayed exactly the same and has not moved at all. So just everything out of Texas is just awful. And
I mean, one side note though, can we all just agree that Elon Musk doesn't really believe in anything other than just like getting his name out there to cause controversy?
He wants
that, or like making stunk go up, go down.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to make money and have people like him. Except
He is anti-union, but besides that, that's something he pretty strongly believes in.
Yeah. But no, that's, you see, I saw that last night as well. And I think also that there was an article about this in the Texas Tribune. I think they were the ones who posted that first. And I think they went on to say that another member of the Texas Republican Party tried to like file a motion in order to kind of like push back on the language around homosexuality. And they like denied his motion. So
I don't remember if they allowed the log cabin Republicans in for this convention. I think they basically told them to go away. And if those of you who don't know who that is, the log cabin Republicans are basically they're just gay Republicans. That's what they are.
I learned that literally yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
hold up. I'm sorry. You said a log Republican is a homosexual conservative?
No. It's a group called the Log Cabin Republicans. They're
pro LGBT rights, but they're still Republicans.
Oh, okay. So they're not inherently homosexual.
Yeah.
They just are pro. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It's not like gay Republicans or anything like that.
No, that's a wild story. I mean, like, I don't know why I'm surprised by anything coming out of Texas anymore when I hear some of these stories going on. But I guess I thought that maybe these people would try to hide it more, but it feels like they're not hiding anything. They're just being very flippant, being very in the open. It's interesting to me. I think I mentioned this on Twitter last night, the kind of time that we're living in right now, because it feels like every time a new story like this pops up, I just keep asking myself, this is really happening right now? Because it just feels like it's almost like something that you would come out of like a comic strip with. Like it just gets more and more cartoonish as time goes on.
I think it's really nice because I think people that like wake up from comas from 20 years ago are not gonna like, they'll be like, oh, it's the same. Everything's the same.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
little bit more.
50 years, you know?
It's the way I like to think about it is we are in the wrong timeline. It's the wrong point in history for our politics to be this stupid. Like if we were talking about 20 years ago and we were having these arguments, it would be a totally different story than
Even
the
20 years
cascading
ago.
calamities that are constantly happening for us to be having these arguments.
Right. No, but you're right, though. 20 years ago was a lot different because you had both parties united on even the fact they didn't even want gay people to get married. I mean, even Barack Obama said that he was against it in 2008 when he first got elected. So this was very mainstream, just like mid 2000s. But now, like, things have changed so much for Texas GOP to come out and call it an abnormal life choice. Was that the wordings that they used?
Yes.
Like that is
normal life.
Get the fuck out of here. I mean, but like, you know what? It honestly, it reflects where the culture is on that side right now. I mean, I listened to Ben Shapiro talk about this. He came on to
Ben Shapiro is so bigoted. Like it is they're like one of the most responsible people for what is going to be happening to this. Like them and Libs of TikTok are pushing this from the culture war in like the worst way. They're just as culpable for any violence that is going to occur. because of what they're doing. Like the Matt Walsh thing is wild. Candace Owens is coming out with her hate documentaries and her anti-vax documentaries. She's out here saying if you look at a drag person, you should lose your kids. Like, it is unbelievable how openly bigoted they are.
I think they just don't like fun. I think there's just something like every time they wake up and they see a movie that's entertaining, they're like, "Oh, that sucked." Like, "Oh, did you have fun?" Like, it's interesting.
No,
I would love to go to a conservative fundraiser. I feel like I'd kill myself by the end.
Make it about 5 minutes.
I don't know how I'd blend in a crowd like that. I mean, I guess to be fair, I probably had a chance to go see a conservative crowd yesterday because there were neo-Nazis walking down the streets of my town yesterday. So that was cool.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should call them like neo. They had the patches on their arms and everything. They were walking by the mall. They were down by the courthouse. You know, got like masks over their face. Yeah, it was fun.
What were they angry about?
Huh?
What were they angry about?
I don't know. Probably replacement theory. Yeah.
General, we will not be replaced stuff.
You know how it is. But no, I have no idea I'm not sure why they were here. I mean, the coverage that I saw here in my local town wasn't really so much trying to fact find into reasons why they were here. It was more or less just telling people that they were here and maybe you should avoid them. So, 6th, what is your bad news?
Well, the bad thing I was going to bring up was pretty much the exact same thing, but I've kind of got a different idea now. Do you remember the convoy that hit Ottawa back in the beginning of the year? That everyone was talking
that
about?
Americans seem to be
Canadian.
fascinated with.
Oh, no, I got a reason. Actually, Katarina, have you heard there's a second one coming?
No, I'm too busy doing real stuff, but you hit me with it.
Yes, I live in Ottawa. Trust me, I need to pay attention to this shit. So I'm going to be dealing with it firsthand. But yeah, they're coming again to make the exact same kind of arguments, despite the fact that we've dropped all their mandates. Everything they could have complained about doesn't exist.
But also, wasn't it the whole thing that like it wasn't even Canada? Like it was like the U.S. saying that we will not let you in. So like
it's spot on. It was, even if we dropped our mandates, it wouldn't have stopped the Americans from dropping theirs. So it would have gotten them nowhere. And even then, they said it was truckers protesting, but I went there. I was there firsthand. It was like 5,000 people, maybe 100 trucks at the most. People don't realize what 1,000 transport trucks looks like. That would have extended halfway to Kingston, not just covered the downtown core. Are you kidding me? So now here we go again. But Ottawa this time, we have attitude now. Everyone on Twitter is going on there buying eggs. We're just going to pelt them with eggs the whole time they're here. And I'm really hoping we do, because it's June. It's a nice hot June.
I thought you weren't allowed to protest under the Trudeau monarchy.
Oh,
how long did that last? 12 days before he unilaterally ended that policy?
I don't know if it was 12, between like 9 and 12, a very short amount of time. Everyone was complaining about how it was bank accounts getting shut down, but I think the total number was like 20, and every single one was like of a millionaire or a company because they were donating to a criminal organization, which is something you would normally get your bank account shut down for.
Yeah.
So I have a question, like, because they're doing another one of the DC ones similar to what you guys did. They had a whole idea and
wait, are we serious? They're doing another?
Yeah, no, they're doing it again, or at least they're trying to. Because the guy I was following on Twitter who was covering the first one, where they basically got mad that it rained and stuff, and they like couldn't block traffic even though there was like a dozen trucks, and they thought Antifa was everywhere. They're apparently doing it, but because they're dumb at this, they're advocating that they're going to hurt people.
What is the message of the Trucker Convoy at this point? There are no restrictions left.
It's literally
just want to be mad.
The last one they had was like masks on planes, and that one's gone now too.
Do you ever just wake up every day and you realize you're white and you're not oppressed, but you want to feel like you are? There you go.
Literally.
Yeah, I follow Rob Noor on Twitter.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't fall into one of those categories just out of default. Just
think about this for a second. How many people could take a month off work to sit in front of your fucking Capitol building yelling at people?
Yeah, that's true too.
Do that. I couldn't even hope to take a month off work. Are you kidding?
Hey, some people come.
Yeah, but are you being sponsored to do it?
True.
Yeah. You have to do the GoFundMe to do it. That's how you do it.
Let's see if Twitter will sponsor me to counter protest.
Listen, we got $50 for you to fill your fridge. We can get you enough money for anything.
It wasn't enough eggs, all right? I need more.
Yeah, no, it
I'll send you some
definitely
more
seemed
money.
like a very manufactured story, because the trucker convoy, that the first one that I saw come through here in America was like after like every school had reopened, after all like vaccine like mandates had been dropped mostly, except for like a couple like in New York City and a couple other like certain bigger cities, but mostly that they had all been dropped. You know, all mask mandates have been dropped, so it's just like, and you're still going to protest what exactly?
Well, weren't
Yeah, it's all
they
the-
were on their way to DC. They were in transit, and Ukraine happened, and nobody gave a shit for 2 weeks, and they gave up. Was my understanding, is how the U.S. one fizzled out. Like literally, it was they were in transit, nobody cared, and then Ukraine happened, nobody gave a shit, and they just fizzled out.
They also
I
weren't
mean, is my
affected.
timeline wrong?
I
don't
think
remember.
no, I think you're probably right around the timeline, because I think
can't confirm.
it was that I don't know if Ukraine kicked off then, but it was like escalated. So that was the story. But like also it was they like couldn't do anything. Like they were so like part of the reason the Canada one got as much focus is because they managed to like actually do damage economically, because they were able to
Billions
shut
of
that bridge
dollars,
down.
yeah.
Like the DC one, they couldn't. There's no like economic output where they could like impact things in the same way. Like the real trucker protest was literally, it was also in Texas when Greg Abbott decided to double check all of the trucks and lost like $10 trillion.
Yeah,
It was like $10 billion.
The Americans, not to be outdone by Canada, we had Texas say we can do it better. We can definitely block this border way better. It cost way more money.
Yeah, and it was and they lasted
American
about as
exception.
long.
Katarina, what is your news that is pissing you off right now?
My news that's pissing me off right now is the fact that more Americans cared, or not more Americans. I'll say more Americans because I don't want to I don't want to be wrong. Definitely, more Americans cared about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial than they did about the repealing of abortion. As if like it's literally anything besides like paying attention to two people getting divorced. Like who gives a fuck? Who cares? Like
They both seem like they suck to me.
okay, like imagine being really, really invested and like watching like Elon and Grimes like argue on Twitter. It's basically the courthouse version of that. And like literally, I don't give a fuck. And people are like, oh, this means Me Too is done. Who cares? Like Me Too being done, that's important. Two like random like millionaires are like having a divorce settlement. Who cares? Like that's their problem. Like you know who should be watching? Them. No one else. Okay, the end. Why is it being broadcasted live? I don't know. So yeah, it also like lasted longer. Like every time I went on YouTube, it was like, would you like to watch them live? And I'm like, no, not really, thank you. And then a bunch of people afterwards were on Twitter like, I feel like I've lost a part of myself. Like, what am I gonna do now? This is the only thing I've been doing for the last like 8 weeks. Do something else. Anything else. I beg you. Your homework. Read a book. Kill yourself. I don't know. Something else. So
So much toxicity came out of this trial. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible.
and I still don't know anything about the trial. No, I don't want to know anything about the trial. Do I care? No. Like it
Does it matter even?
No,
No.
like that's their problem. Who has to sit there and live with it? Them. Oh, they're bankrupt now? Not my problem. They can deal with it. But you know whose problem it is? If abortion gets like the federal right gets appealed, about 50% of the population. But you know, I'm really happy that they found out that somebody shit in someone's bed. So yay!
I got a
That
few
is
different thoughts about this. One is I'm right there with you. Like I didn't pay attention at all to what was going on. Like I heard like the occasional thing. Like when I heard about the news coming out about like shit in a bed, obviously there was kind of that was hard at one thing to ignore, even if you were trying not to pay attention to what's going on. But like I didn't realize how popular it was until like I think the last week of it. And then I realized just how many people in my own life were paying attention to this. And it just, can we just talk about like why we're so obsessed with celebrities? Because I know that there's a whole industry baked around trying to like cultivate like celebrity gossip and trying to get people to care about what Zendaya and Tom Holland are doing at lunch tomorrow and all that shit. But like, why do like people feed into it? Like I know there's an industry designed for it, but why do we actually like take the time to care?
Yeah, I mean, I think by the fact that Love Island is so popular, it basically just boils down to we really care what who hot people are fucking, and I don't know why.
It was pretty wild. But like this is the celebrity trial. Like we've had a couple of like really big trials recently. This is the dumbest one. Like we had the Rittenhouse one, we had the George Floyd one, we had the Ahmaud Arbery one, but this is the one where like they were still covering it like in the same way that they were covering those other ones. Like I was flipping through channels, I was watching CNN, ESPN, and Fox News was only covering this for like hours at a time. I'm like, well, I mean, of course you don't want to cover the actual news, but like, who cares about
well, of
that?
course they were covering like the Rittenhouse one to be like white kid safe again, but like I'm sure they did not talk about Ahmaud even like a little bit as much as
I don't
they were
remember
talking
if they
about.
talked about that one.
You know the answer to that.
That probably means no.
No, it's a fair point there because I didn't see that much coverage on Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, there was some, but like in comparison to Kyle Rittenhouse, no. But like to your point though about like the mainstream media, covering this stuff, like again, why the fuck is CNN and Fox News like covering this of all things? But then honestly, I think it just plays into more the fact that like they don't want to cover any real issues that are going on, but that's really how they've always operated, right? I mean, they always just look for whatever will pull in the ratings because that's what cable news really is. It's just a ratings machine. What's going to pull in the ratings? But again, that comes back to the same question. Why is this pulling ratings? Like, why do people care so much about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's like divorce? Like, why?
Because
it's 50% celebrity and 50% the whole like anti-Me Too stuff. Like this is like the perfect chance for all those people that hate Me Too to start attacking it. Be like, oh, look at this guy who's been assaulted now. So you're seeing a lot of that, and they combine in a really bad way.
Also, like if you're Johnny Depp, I think you're kind of happy about this because it got you out of those Harry Potter movies. And those are like objectively disgustingly awful. It is like insulting to the people who grew up watching the Harry Potter movies how bad they are.
Those Fantastic Beasts movies. Yeah, I watched the first one and I wasn't sure what the hype was about, so I just stopped right there.
That was the only like relatively good one. The last one is like insulting to any of the other ones. I didn't even like
the first one. It was a
the
bad
third
movie.
one is so bad.
And that
my girlfriend fell asleep in the middle of it while we were watching it. It was one of the worst movies I've seen in a very long time.
Who is the main actor for those movies? I forget his name, but like
Eddie
apparently
Redmayne.
Redmayne. Yeah, I guess he's won an Oscar. But I gotta tell you,
I realize that we're literally playing into celebrity culture right now by having this conversation.
Fuck.
Holy shit.
You got.
This is movies though. This is fictional. This is actually like this is
I'm sorry,
arts.
I didn't hear you call him by his stage name. You called him by his real name, and now we're talking about
Well,
Oscars.
hold on, wait.
Are there fantastical Oscars now?
Damn, she got.
We can
me.
wait.
All right,
we can tie this back in because those movies don't have guns in them, so they're now considered acceptable. Which is like the new dumbest thing I think I'm so happy we're gonna hear about forever.
All right. Well, apparently I'm also fucked by the celebrity culture, so I guess I got no room to talk. I got no room to talk. Sen, what is your news that's been pissing you off?
So when I first read the prompt, I took more what is the worst thing in the news. So describing it as pissing me off is a little bit different than being concerned about that it might destroy the world.
They both work.
I think you're still pissed off about that though, wouldn't you be?
I feel more fear than anger, I guess.
Oh, okay, that's pretty intense. All right.
So obviously since so I was reading through the news, and it's the one that struck me the most. Negotiations to try and get up an Iran deal going are flopping right now with the Biden administration. And
I love the Iran deal. It's so much fun.
It is uniquely bad. I am like pretty concerned about this area for number one, I think it's generally bad when more people have nukes in general. I think that's a pretty easy line to cross. And then second, I think Iran is one of like the most concerning areas to get a nuke, not because of their authoritarian government or anything like that, but because that it is a low water area. And with water drying up, you're able to do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, you have to do whatever you want when you're running out of water. So if they get nukes and then they also have to like force the world to either give them water or nuke the world, we are looking at a pretty dire area here.
Desperate people with nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's not a great idea.
Yeah, you don't want nuclear weapons with people that need water.
Yeah, that whole area is not going to do well in the next like couple of decades.
That
But, like,
might be, I think that's the
It
most
will.
concerning thing happening, honestly.
I
With
mean,
one of them.
is that a bad negotiation tactic? I mean, like if that's what it takes
Oh.
for like Western countries to actually give a fuck about anybody besides themselves, I mean,
Well, because
let
they're not
them-
going to target Western countries; they're going to target Israel. That's how they're going to do it.
oh well, what they're gonna ask Israel to give them water?
No, they're going to say that the Western countries have to do it, or they're going to go in with Israel, and then Israel's going to bomb them first. That's what's going to happen.
I mean,
I
like,
have a
And-
naive
Usually
question.
violence.
Sure. What's up, Fry?
When we, growing up, you always heard Iran, Iraq deals, all this jazz,
Mhm.
uranium. Are any of these deals ever like incentivized for like nuclear power? Like, or is it only weapons that are dealt with, or could you have a deal that they want power, but then they behind the scenes do like what's the main focus? Why would we even agree to allow anybody to develop weapons? Like, is power
So-
involved at all in these deals?
Not
They're
for
both
the
very
Iran deal.
separate.
The Iran
Like,
deal itself
Oh, go
was
ahead.
so restrictive that they couldn't use it to build facilities. So that was that in that particular
Okay, so
deal.
if it was so restrictive, then what could they do? What was the point?
The point was basically to give them no access to any type of nuclear.
Well, that's not a deal.
capabilities.
That's a sanction. Why don't we call it a sanction?
Well, it was because it was it. So what happened was America
voluntary
froze
on their part.
their assets. We just took like $1 trillion in assets, and basically said, "Hey, you're going to come to this table, and we're going to send in inspectors." And they agreed to this. The whole world agreed to this. And then a whole bunch of Republicans and Israel got mad about it. And then they wanted to, and then under the Trump administration, they ended it. So what happened from there is originally the deal was supposed to sunset in 2022, which is what would have happened so that they would have started negotiating before that. So that when it sunset, they were ready. However, because the Trump administration ended it in 2017, 2018, their response to this was, okay, well, we're going to stop you from rebuilding or building up any new abilities at all by doing what they called maximum pressure sanctions. That didn't work in any way, shape, or form. All it did was drive them further to the right and make them more a hard line on trying to build these weapons. So the idea that the agreements are failing now makes sense because they have no reason to trust us, because in all likelihood there's going to be a Republican in office in 24, and that person will renege on whatever deal is agreed on.
So the deal portion in a nuclear deal, they say, is not to allow them restricted access. It's literally to allow them to have their money back.
yes.
No, that's what brought
Well-
them to the table. Yeah. And then
Okay, are we still freezing their money? Why wouldn't they have pulled that out at some point?
No, they have their money back. Now at this point, basically the
So we have no
negotiation-
leverage?
Well, the leverage is the excess sanctions that we still have. We still sanction them.
What, economically and other means?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, the leverage at this point is we kind of lost it because there was no negotiations done in the last 5 years. The negotiations, they basically were just said, here, we're going to sanction you, and then you're going to stop this. And they said, no, why would we do that? We had already agreed to everything you had asked us to, and now you're sanctioning us anyway. So why are we going to come to the table with you again?
Okay. I'm up to speed. Thank you.
So I have a random.
well-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Well, essentially, like the big fear for me is like when we have these, like, and I agree to Katarina's point, having a nuclear weapon does make it easier to negotiate with the rest of the world. Obviously,
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good thing, at least in the scale of things. But when we look at like the threat of if we're going to reach nuclear war, it's not going to be because of the most likely conflict is going to be because of water in the coming years. So that's like the thing to watch out for. It's incredibly concerning.
It kind of, and maybe I'm wrong to think this. So if you think that what I'm saying is wrong, please someone jump in and tell me that I'm wrong here. But I always feel as though when we talk about Iran or we talk about North Korea getting a nuclear weapon, a lot of me wonders how much of it is honestly like fear mongering, in the sense that like in for case of Iran, for instance, I believe we have somewhere in the upwards like notion of maybe like what 40 military bases that surround that country. We have developed missile shield technology so that if any nation were to fire a nuclear weapon, we could like shoot it out of the sky. We're constantly monitoring everything going on in a lot of these countries. I mean, we spend tens of billions of dollars between like the NSA and the CIA every year to monitor basically everything domestic and foreign. So we're constantly in everyone's business, knowing what they're doing at all times. It just feels as though if any country was actually serious about doing this, that we would be able to confront it if they had the desire to. And also it just feels to me that like if any country was going to fire a nuke, it'd be a country like China or Russia, because they might feel a little more emboldened because of their power. But a country like Iran having one, or North Korea having one, if they shot it, they know that they would be met with absolute destruction. So it would basically just be committing suicide on their part. So it always feels like we talk about this from such a place of fear, but it doesn't kind of like line up in my mind from what would happen to them versus how we're capable of defending it. It just feels very strange to me.
I got a devil's advocate point here. I'm not a fan of like even the U.S. maintaining, but here's a thought. Say Russia sends a nuke, destroys DC, whatever. You as individuals, are you okay with saying, yes, I want my leadership to retaliate and send 3 nukes over? Are you at that point where you are an eye for an eye? Because I feel like the left kind of believes in not an eye for an eye as I was raised. Do we want to bring so much more harm to other people and destroy the planet further?
Well, I mean, look, if I don't know if you guys can hear me because
if I can hear you.
But person with the button is crazy and not thinking straight anyways and doesn't give a shit. I mean, do we have to meet that with the same?
If the first missile is fired and it lands, that's it for everybody. There's like that's it. There's no coming back from that. Like,
then why do we need it?
Bill, because at this point, if you're a country without it, you end up like Ukraine.
In a sense, it's a nuclear deterrent, because you would attack a nation that had nukes because you'd be afraid.
Okay. Hold on. If Ukraine had a nuke and could fire it, you're saying Russia would never have entered the Ukraine?
I say it would have had.
I believe that. Yes.
Yeah. That's the same reason that Russia's not going to pick a fight with other nations that have the same type of firepower.
So what, like 4 other countries?
Yeah.
Well,
Using a
us
nuke
and like NATO
is really a good option in this conflict. Like, if Ukraine did, it would hurt them just as much as the Russians. It would be.
I don't think Ukraine would. Yeah, I agree.
It wouldn't be a very intelligent thing to do, because even if they did bomb Russia, like the explosion entirely happened in Russia, they would still get hit by the fallout. They would still get hit by the massive radiation waves that would go out through the entire continent.
I think we're beyond. I think we're beyond nuclear war at this point, where they're so prolific and they're so powerful that, as you said, one's going to ruin the planet, even if you're not dead. What's the point then? Like, why do we have to have them if we're going to be dead anyways?
Well,
let's just get rid of them.
Yes, that's the goal.
I mean, you would hope that everyone would get rid of them, but
it's
no
a
one's
little
actually going to get
bit
rid of them.
easier said than done.
Yeah, we pulled up.
Has his fingers crossed though.
But could anyone just speak to my point really quickly about like the idea that we have so much defensive capability that if any one country like Iran or North Korea was going to
North
fire
Korea is
one,
a joke. North Korea's not going to fire them because it's like not even, they're doing it as a scare tactic to try to like be powerful. They have no reason. They're not going to fire one because they know that they're not going to have any goals from it. Iran at least you can there's probably people in Iran that they can talk themselves into. If we take out Israel, it's worth it.
Yeah, so I guess the point I was trying to say is I'm pretty certain we have the technology to shoot a missile out of the sky. So say in this scenario, Iran gets a nuke. They decided to fire one at Saudi Arabia, for instance, because that's like their main adversary in that region. I mean, it seems though we have bases in that area in the Persian Gulf. We would just shoot it out of the sky.
I believe that you might be overestimating the level of our technology at the moment.
Really not. No. I spent a bunch of time looking into the specific nuclear defenses that North America has, and we have 4 layers of it. The first layer is whatever ships are in the area that can immediately intercept that missile. The thing that matters is what kind of missile we're getting launched at us. If it's intercontinental, it means it goes into the atmosphere. Very few missiles can reach the atmosphere, so our ability to intercept a missile that's that high up is very difficult. If we can intercept it before it gets that high, we're good. If it gets that high, we have to wait until it comes back down, which means we have to rely on one of our other layers. The next layer is coastline defenses, ships that we have off our coast that have missiles that are capable of intercepting. That fails, we then have inland missile defenses. And then if that fails, we have literal air defenses, like literal planes that we can have intercept them.
Just as a point of privilege, it's really not that hard to get like a ballistic to go into the atmosphere. Like if I can do it, then
it's not that hard to do it. It's hard to target one that's there and send another to hit it.
Oh, okay.
So why I said that you might be overestimating the level of technology here is not because of the.
You can look this up yourself. America is very open about their defenses. They don't tell you
that's fine. Can I say why before you criticize that? Sixth, I haven't even said the reason. So we can look at the most advanced missile deflection technology in the world. Like that would be like the Iron Dome, or other levels of technology we have here in the United States.
Iron Dome is for rockets,
what we've seen enabled to stop these rockets. You have a high percentage rate that you can stop a lot of them. It's very difficult if you send a lot to stop all of them, and that's the concern. So preferably you wouldn't want a nuclear weapon dropped at all in the first place, and that's why I brought up water in the first place, because the concern about whether nuclear weapons will be dropped, you can look at game theory for the most of why we haven't seen nuclear weapons deployed since Nagasaki. What we cannot really account for is when a country has nuclear weapons but no longer has the resources to sustain itself. That's the real fear.
Like what happened to the collapse of the Soviet Union? They lost like a third of their nuclear stockpile. They just went poof. Nobody knows what the fuck happened to them, and Russia to this day still doesn't know where they are.
I'm sure Russia knows where they are.
Well, Russia.
Oh yeah, they probably do. They probably do. The Russian fucking mob.
The unique
there's the
fear with these,
that America's lost,
and just speak to the Ukraine thing. Russia has made very specific to keep nuclear weapons out of Ukraine's hands. It has been that was the main goal of when Russia broke up, that they are fine with Ukraine having its sovereignty as long as it didn't have nuclear weapons, because that was the big thing that would have prevented them from retaking Ukraine's sovereignty in the future.
Nuclear devastation. So yeah, of course that's going to be a talking point 30 years ago.
Russia says a lot of things and then says other things and then does other things though. So I've had just actually trying to pay attention to the war in Ukraine and actually trying to dig into Putin's past a little bit. I'm now very skeptical of anything that quote unquote Russia says.
Yeah, I mean, they said several different things, oh, we don't want them to be a part of the UN because it's a threat. Oh, we don't want them to have access to nuclear weapons.
NATO pressuring us, Nazis.
But now Finland and Sweden have been pressured to join NATO, and they're still sitting there just doing their fingernails. I don't. Yeah, okay.
Right, because when I think about what Russia says, basically we're talking about what Putin says, right? And I'm people, someone treat it as oh, well, what he says is obviously the truth, as if okay, what every other major leader in the world, when they speak, they're always telling the truth. Yeah, sure, okay, let's just believe everything that certain people say. Obviously, he'd have no reason to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen a lying politician in my life.
I've never seen one either. It's crazy. Politicians lying? It's wild. All right, Fry, your news that's pissing you off.
Okay.
I hate it too.
Silence is also the news I hate.
To be fair though, silence wouldn't be a bad change of course though. From all the crazy shit that's going on in the news right now.
I would take the silence over the absolutely broken screaming that I hear from south of the border. So yeah, actually.
Yeah, I'm hearing a bunch of crazy. Every time I turn around, there's some new news about mass. I almost mixed their names together, about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I would like to stop living through historical events constantly.
Can we have
okay.
a boring decade, please?
To the news pissing me off. I totally got side railed when we were talking about nukes and things. So to bring it home to the U.S. I got really pissed off this week that New Mexico wasn't going to certify their primaries, and what's to me worst about it isn't that he's refusing it. It's not that the same day he was ordered by the state Supreme Court to certify it was also the same day he was getting his judgment or sentencing from his involvement in January 6th. What really pissed me off was it's the primary for Republican. We're talking Republican versus Republican, and they're not even blaming Democrats. It's so nonsensical. It's a computer is the problem, guys. It's not fair. We have two Republicans here, and one Republican lost and one Republican won. That can't be. Like, it's that nonsensical. And we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of, the 2022 yet. This is just the lead up, and it's already happening. It's so frustrating, and I don't have anybody to slap around. I can't. I'm in Indiana, too many states away to go around slapping them.
Okay, I actually not heard about this, so I'm just looking at this right now. But
this one's great. This is a great story.
So do you know more about it?
Did I get the facts right?
No, you did. So what happened ultimately was the guy, and this is his direct quote. I'm not decertifying this election because of any facts or any information. I'm doing this on my gut feeling. And then he got arrested for being at January 6th. So this is actually, if you watch the HBO documentary on this, it's like 4 hours or something, whatever it's called. He's the guy in the bullhorn who's asking them to pray. That's who this guy is. So they basically had a thing where they were talking about it, and they said, like, look, we can't decertify it. We know you guys want us to, but we can't. So 2 of the 3 of them voted to certify the election. And then he didn't because he's a jerk.
Are these the commissioners?
These are the commissioners, yes.
Okay.
So
they can't. So they need all 3. It's got to be unanimous. They just can't, torch him.
Yeah, no, they can't torture without all 3 of them. So, or they need a majority. I don't look, but like it's the point that he's basically like, hey, I just don't care. I'm just not going to certify this. And then we're going to argue against the Supreme Court ruling that says
we all knew this was going to happen in some states during the midterm, but again, it's like this is a primary. Like, why are you wasting your fodder now, other than just to make it to normalize it? He's intending to normalize this behavior.
I think
so. Now it's going to be worse.
I think you just hit the nail on the head to normalize it. Like there's so many different things wrong with where we're currently at right now. I don't even know which one to focus on because they all piss me off so much because there's. First of all, I just want to ask this question just in general. Is there legitimate brain rot going on for people who legitimately think that the election was stolen, or is it just a giant grift that people are using to like create more power for themselves, or is it a mixture? Like I don't know.
It's definitely a mixture. Yeah. Like there's some people that like some people are willing to get shot in the head for it, but some people also realize that like it does them very well politically. I think definitely when it comes to citizenry, it's a lot more likely that it's just brain rot, and when it comes to electoral people that are have something to gain from it politically, it's probably more likely a grift. But yee brother.
There's no logic to it to me, because like if you are the grifter, because in my mind I'm like, okay, it's just the Republican Party that's doing this. So I'm like, do you realize that you're sowing more doubt into your base about even the legitimacy of the election? So isn't that telling them to not vote?
It's sowing no, because if they win, that means that their district was doing it right.
Right, but also at the same time, if you're telling the whole Republican Party, like, hey, our voting system is rigged, then doesn't that make people be like, well, no point to vote. It's just rigged anyway.
Well, I think, isn't that essentially kind of what ended up happening with the runoffs in Georgia? Like Trump, but like I suppose...
it's they have to be irrational. You cannot hold both of these, all the positions right. Like it's to understand this stuff. Because look, so let's say you believe that Mike Pence could overturn the election. Why are you voting in 2024 when Kamala Harris can just do the same thing? Like it doesn't matter. Like if this was a thing that he could do, don't you think Al Gore would have done it?
Yeah, just kept himself in office.
Yeah, like this is not a
That Florida recount.
Yeah, there's no logic
right.
to it. There's no logic to it.
It's a combination of both.
Yeah,
like,
so
it can't. That's why
Well-
they're saying there's no evidence. That's why they're like at this point they're like grasping on Dinesh D'Souza documentaries.
It's just so wild to me. It's absolutely fucking wild to me to see all this stuff play out, because it also like what's the end result here? Is that are we now setting up the Democrats to go this way too? Like when the Democrats inevitably probably like lose in 2024, which it seems like they're going to. Does that now mean that we're allowed to call that election to be fake, and then no elections are ever real anymore? It's just like,
No, because we go high, they go low, some shit like that.
yeah,
Well,
but
also like
will they though?
No, they're gonna go
Okay,
low.
there'll be a few that will, and I just own those fucking people.
They're gonna
Oh.
end the American experiments. Basically, once they get in power, is what's gonna happen. And
This
they
is why I
don't
don't like labeling myself, because I feel like I need to apologize for so many people.
I mean,
mean,
it seems that the goal of this is not to it's not to root out actual causes for issues in our democracy, right? Saying that it's undemocratic. The point is to pose anti-democratic legislation and frame it as fixing our democracy at the end of the day. That's going to be like, in order to make sure that this election is fair, you push it in the guise of getting rid of like dead voters or something, or like illegal voters or something like that, and you just end up skewing it more in the hands of the Republicans. That's what they've kind of done.
Yeah, honestly, this kind of like ties in perfectly to the news that's pissing me off. I mean, we might not even have to change subjects here, because it's basically on the same like train of thought here, which is the Republican Party constantly talks about being the party of small government, of being the party of less government power, yet they've been doing everything possible to flex authoritarianism over the last like year plus. I mean, especially in like the state governments, passing these anti-trans bills, anti-CRT bills. Now they're like talking about wanting to ban kids from going to drag queen shows or to going to drag shows.
That's a lot for a small
I mean,
government to do.
trying to like in Texas saying that if you let your child, transition, that they'll come after you and like take your kids from you. I mean, like the amount of authoritarianism that I'm seeing from the Republican Party right now is just beyond belief for a party that claims to be about limiting executive power. And somehow their voter bloc doesn't seem to find anything hypocritical about what they're doing at all. So it just, I don't know. I feel like I'm constantly like trying to talk to people who don't seem to get how in conflict their views are with the actions of their politicians.
because like it's stopping and infringing on the rights of groups that they don't like, so they don't care. It's more as long as like you don't tread on me, and specifically me, then I'm having a good time. But like if you're treading on the person next to me, but I don't agree with the person next to me is doing, then
That's true,
yeah, well, that's cool. So it's specifically don't tread on me, don't tread on us.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Does anybody here have a close family relation that has unfortunately taken the Kool-Aid, the Trump Kool-Aid?
Haha, I'm black. I don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I do. I have family members who are Republicans.
Yes.
Yes.
Like living in reality Republicans or Trump?
You know what? I didn't even get into the conversation. Like I knew they supported Trump, and I was like, okay.
All right.
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta let it go. I was just like, you know what?
Walk the
Like,
fuck away,
I'm just
get
gonna be
rid
like,
of the right
let's talk about sports. How'd the Eagles do?
Well, I can't. I'm a single child, and my mother has drunk from the Kool-Aid, and my parents are separate. So she's on her own, becoming kind of a recluse. Her self-esteem is destroyed for reasons beyond in work and things like that. She used to be in nursing and such. So, but I've taken it on. Like apolitical. I didn't really follow it. I didn't really care. I just liked blissfully being unaware until 2020. And it's just what she was saying about deep state. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I said, I have to educate myself to combat or at least speak intelligently with you. So that's suddenly I found politics to be a very interesting hobby. But anyway, so I'm still combating with her 2 years later, and we still have an open relationship. We're not burning anything down. We can even talk about other things. I've got 2 daughters that we'll talk, so her grandkids we can talk about. But I have been coming more and more prescient against her. And with the hearings going on, I'd ask her about that, and I listen to Shapiro and I listen to other sources so I can be prepared for the shit she's going to say. But what it really boiled down to, because I kept questioning her and breaking her down, was she's just, sometimes you just have to go with your instinct and your gut feeling and your hunch. And I'm like, and it wasn't appropriate at that time because I was pushing her and you could hear it in her voice. But I'm realizing it's a separation of critical thinking and emotion. She's being completely controlled by emotion. And it's not that she can be wrong. She doesn't wish harm upon anybody. She's not anti-lesbian, gay, or anything like that. But she follows this because she's more worried about the fear-mongering, the deep state, the boogeyman, and that's why she wants to support it, because that's her gut feeling. And I'm trying to separate and get her to realize her gut feeling needs to give way to critical thinking.
I suppose always a good thing would be is to like find other instances of gut feeling leading to bad things. For example, a lot of people's gut feeling is that Black people have lower IQs, but I mean, that's not factually supported. People had gut feelings that, you know, if we just got rid of all the Jewish people out of our community, things would be better. But that was not supported, etc., etc. Like your feelings, that's all fine and dandy and whatnot, but like no one, like there's no like a PhD in my feels. Like that's why empirical data exists. But also empirical data doesn't work very well when you're trying to argue with people that are coming from emotional states, because you can't just be like, oh yeah, well, this peer-reviewed study, because it'd be like, I don't care about a study. Like
So,
what I see is so.
I guess my point was just that the followers of Republicans, it's not that inherently it's they're trying to grab power or they're trying to harm other people or they just care about themselves. I think there's a sizable number that mean well, but they're just literally controlled by emotions and lack critical thinking. So I don't want to say she's stupid, but naive. And I think that's a large portion that I don't know how to solve it. But when you guys were talking about money or power grabbing and such like that, I wanted to throw in the naive as well.
You know,
Well, it's
honestly,
usually conditioning, right? It's not like they woke up being like, oh,
They're
everybody's gonna
manufactured.
groom my
I was just about to
kids.
say that. Yeah, I mean, this honestly, it speaks to me. Like I know I asked the question, but I kind of already know what some of the answer is, if not the whole answer. But like, in a really evil, twisted way, like you got to just give a little bit of, I guess, props to the right-wing propaganda machine. Like it's intense.
Yeah.
It's intense. I mean, like they are in lockstep about everything. Like from Fox News all the way down to like, you know, independent sphere. Like they're all on the same talking points. They all have the same message. They all have the same boogeyman. You know, it's one long train of like relentless messaging, and it's always based in fear of possibly losing your rights or losing your culture or losing yourself or being replaced, or you know, it's really ironic given that the biggest name in the right wing, you know, his slogan is what? Facts don't care about your feelings, but yet they always base
he
everything
never
on their
argues
feelings.
facts.
Their entire goddamn platform.
They don't argue any facts. It's very difficult
Drag is
to talk people out of this. It
I think
is
part
very
of-
frustrating because it's like, hey,
I think
look,
part of it is also just really entertaining, like in comparison to like any of factual
It's
news. Like
validating for
C-SPAN
one
makes me
too.
want to like C-SPAN's not fun, but you know, sitting there and showing like blue hair lib scream, I guess it's entertaining, whatever.
Well, you know,
it's
I
a
guess
good
if we're
level.
looking at view counts, those videos always get more hits on YouTube, don't they?
Yep.
A lot of hate watches too, a lot of rewatches, but yeah, the amount of views these videos get are, I don't have a word to describe it that would be good. Let's put it that way.
Well,
That's what
maybe
we're
we
here
should
to
use
talk
some
about.
other words to describe good then. Fresh Faces, can you tell me a story that's given you some hope?
Okay, so when I say hope, this is not like, oh, humanity is going to be. This is entertaining for me, and I'm going to be happy about this, and it's going to make me smile.
Okay.
I don't like where this is going.
The People's Party is going to nominate Jimmy Dore for president in 2024. It is the griftiest thing I think I've ever seen. I literally had an argument like my entire stream with somebody about this. For those of you who don't know, Jimmy Dore is one of these. He's not. I'm not entirely sure what a Nazbol is, but I don't think he's that. He's like a left. He's a grifter. His whole thing is I'm the true left. And they want to push him for president. They're like, he's the most famous comedian. He has 1 million views on YouTube. If you want, like, if you read their press release, it's a grift. You can see they're like, hey, drop Jimmy a super chat so that you can tell him how much it means to him that he's going to run for president. And it's like, yeah, the people at his shows, it is wild. And just a little bit of the better part for this is the People's Party. Like, I agree that we should not have a duopoly. The People's Party claim to fame is they were they alleged that they are the force to vote people. And they think that was effective. So that when 115 Congress members voted against Medicare for All, they would primary them. As of right now, and to all available data that I can see, the People's Party has fielded an exact number of 0 candidates in any primary anywhere across the country. So from there, they're going to go from 0 to presidential run. My favorite part of this will be hopefully when he crashes and burns. And then I do have an internal fear that this will be just a worse version of the Bernie or Busters. Although I feel like his influence.
The story for being happy. This is not happiness. This is
the happiness is this. The happiness
It's
is
memery.
Jimmy Dore president.
It's not
a Jimmy Dore presidential run will be content galore, and I cannot wait for it.
Okay, so you're happy about potential content.
Yes.
Well, there are plenty of things that are content that are not good.
He's excited about getting the bag in
Yeah.
2024. Let him have it.
Yeah. Listen, if I can get the bag off of Jimmy Dore's back, I will be very happy about that.
So I guess we'll be having
future
future streams, future conversations about Jimmy Dore's presidential run. Honestly, let me just say this. I think anyone should be able to run for president. Anyone should be able to. I mean, we can all laugh at them when they run. I mean, anyone should be able to run for president. And in a more serious note, I think that we should end the duopoly. I mean, I think that'd be a great thing. Republicans and Democrats having a stranglehold on our politics is kind of destructive, if we're all being fair. So, I mean, I wouldn't take Jimmy Dore seriously if he decided to run for president, but
You said this thing about Trump.
I endorse his desire to run. I think more people should run. Because if anything else, if he has one positive thing to say, maybe that's I don't know.
Yeah, like think about like Andrew Yang didn't have a shot at being president, but he actually brought like having a conversation about a UBI into the mainstream. Like
right.
there was
a good thing that came out of that, and I think he had some other great ideas as well. But that was like the one that he ran on a lot. But I mean, yeah, I'm not a Jimmy Dore fan, but I'm sure he would have a couple of good things to say, and he'd also have some cringe things to say. I mean, maybe some positive would come out of it. I mean, if anything else, he'll platform himself, which I'm sure is the whole point of this anyway. Because when you are out running outside the main parties, like any run for president is just a chance to platform yourself. That's what it is.
Yep.
It's just blackmailing me on future leftist parties. I don't know.
I just wanted to point of clarification. Is this associated at all with the People's Party of Canada or no?
I have no idea. I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Because I think this was like something that like beyond Brianna Joy Gray and a couple of other of those type of people said together.
QAnon bullshit.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Absolutely. Oh man, Jimmy Dore. I don't know. I had somebody on my podcast recently who I know is I think friends is the right word to use. I'm not sure. They've done several like live chats together. So she was on my podcast recently. So I didn't get a chance to ask her about this while we had our conversation, but I don't know. I don't get the appeal of Jimmy Dore personally. Like
The
it feels
appeal-
like he's a leftist who never says anything about the right ever. Like I understand like talking shit on Democrats because they deserve it, but like you never say anything
He's
bad
just-
about Republicans ever. Like never. Like literally never. It feels very suspect to me. It feels
when he
very
was on the
grifty.
Young Turks, he was a little like more honest about things, but he's just a grifter. He'll say whatever he puts money in his pocket. It doesn't matter what it is. Whoever's paying him, he'll say what they want.
Yeah.
He's proven that fucking deliberately.
Well, let's see if somebody else has a more happy piece of the news. Katarina, what is your news that's making
so there's
you
an
happy?
asteroid heading towards Earth. No, and I'm really
Yes!
excited.
Based.
No,
Finally.
okay,
Took us long enough.
Yeah, no.
Get
There's
free
like,
now.
okay, so I guess I have technically two things, but if I have to choose one thing, both things are in the same vein, but I'll say my one thing, and if I can say in a second, I'll go for that too. There was the first Pulitzer Prize that was won by somebody that was just talking about like general science literacy, and it was specifically like about the James Webb Telescope. And this is like the first time that somebody that was just writing about something that was purely scientific, nothing like that has to do with medicine, like just something that's good general information, got a Pulitzer. So that was really, really cool. And I got her autograph. She's really sick, etc. And yeah, I think that's really good because if I have to watch another sci-fi movie where they say the word quantum inaccurately, I'm going to commit seppuku. So it's nice to see that like there's people that are writing about science like in
The enunciation is incorrect, or what do you mean by quantum?
I mean that
They just
people
use
just
it.
say it just to sound smart. Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
Oh,
like-
and
they're
if
not.
you watch-
They're not using it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
you watch any
yeah,
Marvel
they're just-
movie.
Yeah, you watch anything, they're like the quantum technology. I'm like, the quantum what? Like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, yeah, it's very, very frustrating for me. Quantum
Well, they
gravity.
only say that because you can't say flux capacitor anymore.
Well, I'd rather like anything else. I'd rather them just make up sounds. I'd rather them just go ahead and like what they did for what's it called, Black Panther, and just make up an element. Anything else? Stop using quantum. It's a real word. It has utility. Stop.
Hey,
So, yeah,
vibranium is real. You know, first of all.
Look, I'd rather
Comes from
people say
space.
vibranium. You guys are like, that's a really cool element. I'm thinking about like the next generation vibrator, but no matter what, everyone's happy.
My brain was there too.
But yeah,
It's-
that's
Like, what the fuck ever.
yeah, but I don't know. It's really cool. And as somebody that's very interested in like science communications, the fact that something's winning a Pulitzer that is, you know, not obviously political based Pulitzers, and you know, allowing everyone to know that the government is spying on us definitely deserves a Pulitzer. But so do other things. And yeah, you know, science glow up. What up? I guess
Hey.
my other second thing is just like there's a lot of really cool things going on scientifically, and like we don't know about it, but just know that like there are new things happening all the time, and just because like the average people like aren't getting the information doesn't mean it's not happening. Like there's like 3 new gravitational wave detectors that are being created right now, and there's one that will be launched like within the next 10 years that like the arms of the gravitational wave detector will be like in the millions of kilometers wide, so thus to allow us to pick up a lot more information, which gives us a lot more capacity to learn about like what happened during the Big Bang and other types
Oh,
of
yeah.
like really energetic mergers.
I'm a mechanical engineering technologist. I have a hard time swallowing that. I think I need to see what you're seeing offline. Not right now. Not saying you're wrong, but that's very fascinating. Just the logistics of that is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's super cool. So if you want to come by like my chat like right after this panel, I plan on talking about it anyway, so feel free to.
I'm kind of on the topic, so.
Hey, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like every time I hear about scientific breakthroughs, I guess I've gotten so cynical recently about government, like essentially like taking these things and weaponizing them, that I always like start thinking about all the bad applications of any new technology the second I see it right now. Because like whenever I see things about like metaverse, or when I hear about Elon Musk's like Neuralink or brain machine interfaces, like those all sound really cool, and I think about like, oh, how will the government find a way to weaponize that and use that against certain
Well, the really cool
populations.
thing that's like good about these, like a lot of the technology that comes out, is that like it's basically like public knowledge. So it's not like for the government to keep and like hold. Like there was recently like a new data drop that came out for like this particular satellite that we have, and then yeah, like it was just public knowledge, and people all across the world just sat there like trying to figure out what to do with the data for like a whole week, and it was like people had almost like hackathon type of community things where like for a week they just sat there looking at the data and like speaking to each other collaboratively, and it was really really nice and very like wholesome. I saw a bunch of them, and I was asking some people like at work about like what were they doing with it. And there's a lot of different utilities, and I don't know, it's like nice. And like even the other day there was like there was some type of new cancer based treatment that they were running a test, and like this
I
was
heard
the
about
first
that.
time. Yeah, everybody that like ended up using the treatment actually ended up not having the cancer anymore.
Yes, that was
And
a
like
huge deal.
I'm looking for the post right now, actually.
yeah, I mean it was a very particular type of cancer and a very particular type of like cause, but like that's good. And just because like not everything, doom and gloom brings more like views on the news, but just know that like if you were to like just sift a little bit, you'd see that there's a lot of like really interesting things happening. And the part I care about is the science end, and I am constant like just in my first month now of work, I've been pogging and soying and soying and pogging because there's so many cool things happening.
That's actually part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation kind of like, structured this way, was because we don't talk about anything that makes us happy when it comes to the news. Like, that's not how anyone talks about the news, which is why I particularly wanted to talk about it this way. It was because, especially here in Twitch, and no offense, I know that I always come on here and shit on Twitch. I'm going to do it again. But like, that's basically what happens on Twitch. You just come on here and you just complain and you complain and you complain. And like, that's the status quo, right? And so like, I was like, maybe I can find an opportunity to say something positive happening in the world right now. Maybe we'll see. Maybe
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's
there was
like
like
logging
that
off right now. Who knows?
there was that some good news thing that like John Krasinski did for like 5 minutes and he sold
Mhm.
it. But perhaps somebody should try doing like an actual one where like they don't sell it to CBC for or CBS for like $10 million. Perhaps like there could just be a good news channel somewhere.
Right.
That does actually tell me how I found my two sources today. I just looked up a site for good news, and apparently there is a good news network that only tells good news.
I think I've
Exclusively.
heard about this before.
And
It's a
that's
good
where I
way,
got
like, serotonin boost, yeah.
that's where I got my stories from today. So
Is it pictures of kitties?
no, it's like actual news stories, unfortunately.
Well, don't
Okay,
bury
it
the lead.
sounds-
Why don't you just go ahead and go next?
Decently good
Sure.
ones, yeah.
Well, I actually had two from this. One that I wanted to talk about, and one that I couldn't resist talking about. So I'll go about
Me first.
that one first. I was just scrolling through it, and the first thing on the page was, "We have discovered that dinosaurs had belly buttons." And
Yes, I knew that.
I felt
Wait,
like
were they born in eggs?
they're
What?
egg.
So they're mammals.
No. So apparently they are non-umbilical cord belly buttons.
Oh,
That
okay.
come
Just
from
holes.
that come from how apparently the yolk in the egg is similarly attached in the same spot an umbilical cord would be.
Does
Here
that
I was
mean, like,
thinking of
every
pregnant
mammal
dinosaurs. Well, I was thinking of
And
mammal
that's apparently
dinosaurs.
that's apparently how
We're supposed to be keeping
crocodiles
things.
also have belly buttons. And this is like a distant relative of
Crocodiles have belly buttons?
apparently. That's what So that's what I
No.
had to share that. I read this story and I was like, okay, no, this has to be
No
discussed.
fucking way.
I don't know. Ancient stories about like things that happen in ancient civilizations. They've always kind of piqued my interest, which I think is the reason why I started like watching, I guess, like Joe Rogan's podcast like 5, 6, 7 years ago, because he had all this like ancient conversations about people being alive like 30,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, and so I don't know. That kind of stuff always like just like piques my interest whenever I hear about it.
So I just felt like that had to be shared.
What's the other story?
The second story, which is an actual one, is that, and I also now have to share this one because I know Fresh Face's New Ideas
Dinosaur belly button is an
began
actual
his talk by saying that there is no good news that comes out of Texas.
Oh, okay. Full circle.
Yep. So I found this that
Brought that back.
Houston specifically has been trying a new housing program in their city,
I did see this.
which is focused on getting rid of homeless by buying them houses. Who would have thought that would get rid
Oh
of
wait,
homeless
they're actually
people?
doing that? I thought
Yeah.
that didn't
doing
they
the
just
one thing that
criminalize
literally
homelessness
makes
like
me
a year ago?
In Austin.
Oh, in Austin.
So, and so far it seems that the progress, they have reduced their homelessness by 63%, which is a huge deal.
Shit.
In what time frame?
Let me look it up. Over the last decade.
Over the last-
specifically.
Decade.
Okay. Okay.
So,
I mean-
What does it cost? Does it have the information of like what the
I can-
economic benefits?
Send him the
I
article
can
in
send
Discord.
you- yeah, I'll send the article.
So,
Hey,
like,
the
this is one of those things that should be like an obvious answer,
Yeah.
right? Fucking, oh, people don't have homes. Let's just give them homes. I mean, if it's affordable, then just fucking do it. I mean, like, obviously, every other tactic has been tried and failed. I mean, how much money has Los Angeles spent on trying to deal with homelessness over the last, like, couple decades? I mean, it's only gotten worse in their area.
I dropped it in general. I don't know if that's where I was supposed to drop it, but
Like Helsinki has basically entirely taken care of their homelessness issue, and like honestly, it's I don't like want to think about it as too much of like a tourist perspective, but honestly, from a tourist perspective, seeing another place's city and like not having to walk around and think about like, wow, this is unfortunate, like what a great city, but you know, there's everyone sleeping over on top of your air vents. It really is, it's nice. Yeah, and once again, the way that this usually gets fixed is a country or a city or locality said, let's just put them in house, and then boom, saved. So crazy, revolutionary.
Yeah,
And
it's
Moment up,
wild.
holy crap.
and my hope is that other big cities take this approach and apply it to them, rather than what they're trying to do, which is criminalize homelessness and then push them
They
to other
need to-
cities.
They need to like be talking about this more, basically.
Mhm.
Like that's like they've done UBIs effectively and they don't talk about it. Like they
Nope.
should be talking about
They'll
it way.
fight forever.
Well, that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about it. So for whoever's listening to this in the now or the future, I mean, like, yeah, these things work. Like, it honestly, it's not a giant kind of like rocket science, type of like idea. I mean, you just put people in homes. Like, how crazy is that? Oh, they don't have homes. Let's give them one.
So I think I
Doesn't
have.
need to be overly complicated. Yeah, it's a very simple, just like they have a very obvious problem to the obvious solution.
Yeah, but then how are we gonna make people go to work and do shitty jobs for really bad pay if we don't tell them that if you don't, you're going to die? Huh?
Well, that's what Ben Shapiro.
Fuck.
See, you're missing an opportunity. You're missing an opportunity. That's a justification we need to tell the Republicans to let more immigrants in, is to do those jobs, right? Is that
Yeah,
is
but
that
they
a
don't care about that.
justification
Yeah,
might
they don't care.
understand?
No.
They wouldn't go for that. Okay. never mind.
They'll have children
Nope.
do it.
Something great replacement. Too many darkies in my area, Sag. Something.
So I rest my case. I have won the debate with Fresh Face's New Ideas. I'm glad.
Something
I
good
listen,
has
I'll
come out of
happily
Texas.
I will happily concede that there is happy news coming out of Texas. So 99% of it is bad.
There you
Well,
go.
Can I interject here, because I also, as soon as he said that, I'm like, there's got to be something good in Texas. So I also started looking at Texas, because originally I was going to say my happy thing this week was that Pete Buttigieg is starting to go after the airlines a little bit, because he had a flight
see that.
cancel.
Oh my
And
god.
so but I mean, how much teeth does he really have? And I was like, well, I mean, it's
As the
something.
future Democratic nominee, we'll see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but in Texas, apparently Dan Crenshaw has been accosted by a far right winger that was calling him, you can't get, or no, like Crenshaw said he can't get a girlfriend, and you're an angry boy, and then he was saying he was mocking his eye patch, and it was just like, what's going on? And it's a Texas GOP convention going on, and this is like literally 5 or 6 hours ago. And I'm like, it's just more evidence of the civil war on the right kind of going in on itself, that it's like, it's disgusting to see this happen, but the more it happens, hopefully the more they break apart and will let us, hopefully on the Democratic side, come out ahead this midterm. So I'm like, is it good or is it bad? I don't know. It's two shitty people yelling at each other. It's kind of good for me.
I want to just I just want to crush your dream really quickly here. The Democrats' chance of winning in 2022 is just, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry.
Well, also, there's no us Democrats.
Things can change.
No, they can't, because they have no desire to win. And they've proven that. They have no desire to win. They have no actual desire to help people. If they wanted to,
think it's going to be a
relieve
slaughter
student debt until after the midterms, because I'm very smart and I'm the president and I clearly care about winning. I'm going to wait until after the midterms and then I'll relieve student debt, because I don't want the people that said, well, I gave up a kidney to give up my student loans to be mad.
Like, the other thing with this is the Crenshaw thing. The people you're talking about are to the right of Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, I know. That's part of the far right going against the central right. The more they
Dan
break
Crenshaw
up.
is like irrelevant. Like, people like he was kind of hanging in there in 2020, but he did something with a red flag. He looked at a red flag with his one eye, and then they remember was it 2017 where what's his face, the Pete Davidson made fun of him, his eye patch one time on SNL, and the whole right wing, they're calling him Eye Patch McCain now because of whatever just happened. Like, they don't care anything about him. Like, Dan Crenshaw is, like, occasionally he says something but he has no backbone. Like, the Republicans with like a fraction of a backbone aren't good Republicans either. Like, it's the standard is you have to do the bare minimum to be like a decent person. And yeah, it's cool that like these dipshits are going to get arrested, because I think you're right. I think they were allegedly threatening him and his staff. But like, it's not a positive for their party.
Not for them. For me, I mean, I found it amusing. It's like yours. It's not great for humanity. It's more of like a humorous thing. Like, oh, that's kind of
you rode the tiger, Dan Crenshaw. Now it's coming to get you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess. I know this was supposed to be the happy segment. I never see the Republicans, fracturing in any way. I mean, they'll fight, they'll fight, but I mean, honestly, they'll all come together.
Do you think it's going to be a slaughter this midterm?
Yeah. I think the Democrats are going to lose, like, dramatically, for two reasons.
I don't think it's going to be dramatic.
I think it's going to be
not as bad as everybody thinks.
That's the cutest copium that I've ever seen. Can I have some?
Listen, the hope we can maybe hold the Senate. I think. Yeah,
I just don't see it. Here's the reason. I don't think that people who vote for Democrats are, I guess, like, they're enthusiastic about coming out and voting again. They have no motivation to. Like, is anyone happy about the Biden administration? Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Desmond, we're just waiting on the OnlyFans.
Wait, hold on. Like,
but we're still living from 4 years of Trump. I'm happier.
I'm just saying, when I asked that question, what just happened a few seconds ago? Did anyone speak?
My Zoom crashed.
I am unfortunately way too privileged, because I always live in very democratic areas, so I never have to vote. And so far, I never have particularly done it either, because I'm never interested in whoever is running, and I know that my county or area is always plus 25, so they don't need me. So yeah, so like every single time so far for every election, I've always done a write-in for Bernie, because I'm just so like incredibly underwhelmed by whoever else is running.
Yeah, the general elections in solid red states and solid blue states kind of a joke. For presidential races, I mean, it's mostly like down ticket items after that. But I mean, honestly, in those states, it's just like you got to vote in the primaries, which enough people do not do, unfortunately. Which is how we get Joe Biden as a candidate in the first place. But
well, I mean, there's more than that. Like,
well, I mean, let's be fair. I mean, fucking, I'll never get over this, because I did this in my first season of doing independent thought. but like everyone kind of just like fear voting for Joe Biden because they thought that he was the only person who could beat Trump, which is just, well, it's how you get Joe Biden as president, and now he ain't done
He was
shit.
kind of the only option in the matter.
I mean, in the primary, he wasn't. He was one of like 55 people running for president, so he was far from the only option.
Well, I
So-
mean, I also had the problem of like where my area is, like most people voted like my parents, and my parents were like, he know Obama, that means he must be good. Clap, clap, clap.
Oh
It's
my
so
god.
painful. It's so
Yeah, I almost-
painful.
Oh my god.
True.
Yeah.
He's been in the same room as Obama, that means he must be good. I love somebody that has a black friend.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on for Joe
Yeah.
Biden, which unfortunately is just like everyone's asking themselves, like, how do we get only Biden or Trump as our two nominees in 2020? It's like, well, you voted for Biden. So, I mean, that's how he got there. Just
Listen,
saying.
Desmond, the only thing we really need is we're just waiting on the Biden OnlyFans. As soon as we get that, everyone will be voting for Democrats. That's like the
Bro,
big thing we're
they're
waiting
gonna
for.
run so many
Yeah,
ads for the
you
fact
would
you fell
never
off a
say that
bike.
again, ever.
Yeah.
That's all we need. It's,
So let's transition back to some more good news. Sixth, what is your
Yeah.
positive news?
I need a second to get over that last statement. Okay. Well, ironically, I did have this from the start, but I didn't want to make everything I brought up about Canada. I have now anyway, so we're going to commit to that one. Recently, the NDP and Liberals have formed a form of coalition government to actually
What's
get
an
a majority
NDP?
of the
I'm sorry,
voters.
I'm ignorant.
The
NDP?
the New Democratic Party. It's basically like the more left-wing party. It's the most left-wing big party in Canada.
How many parties do you have?
We have
Three.
the only ones that you need to care about are three.
The
Lucky.
Liberal Conservative NDP.
We also have the Green Party, but they only get like 3 seats max out of like over 400
Yeah,
or some
there's-
shit.
You have so
They
many
can-
options. It's amazing. I'm so jelly that unfortunately we have a first past the poll system.
We need that
It
here.
sucks.
It's not going to solve
No,
shit, but it would make it better.
People's Party now too.
It would.
We're just not going to talk about that ever for any reason. But recently, the NDP and the Liberals have formed a form of coalition. It's not like an official coalition. They're not actually like tied together right now. But the whole deal was that the NDP will support any Liberal bills, any Liberal plans in the future, as long as the Liberals agree to put in dental with our fucking healthcare. So now every Canadian also has dental coverage.
Sick. Oh,
Right?
that's actually really good. Oh my god. So
Right?
that was the
It's-
only.
it's-
So there's a
it's gonna
couple
take
things that
3
aren't
years.
covered. Yeah, but so there's a couple things that aren't covered under Canadian universal health
Stop
care.
flexing
and
with your better
dental is
health
one of
care.
them.
What the fuck?
Yeah, whatever. Maybe you should
Wait a
vote
minute,
big
but like,
better.
how are you supposed to do that? Like, don't you miss your freedom to be ripped off?
Agreeing to pay $3,000.
Don't
I
you
feel
understand?
so free because
You need
I
to have
the
health
option
insurance.
to go
It's
into
how
debt,
you
and
have
it's-
freedom.
I
It's
feel
possible for
so
me, it is
good knowing
possible.
that my job can fire me and then I die. That's so good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Obviously,
If I'm
Blue
the
Cross
only
Blue
one-
Shield is a part of the American culture.
But yeah, dental care. They're going to start with children by the end of this year, I believe. Next year, they're hoping to everyone under 18, and then by 2025, all Canadians. As long as the Liberals don't fuck it up, which they probably will.
Yeah, but let's just look. It's called the hopium stream, not what will actually happen. Okay, so
Hope,
be
hope.
quiet.
opium
Hope.
stream.
I want that free dental care.
Yeah, I could certainly use free dental care. You got
It's so
Yeah, it's
expensive.
basically
Like,
your
If,
house.
if only it wasn't in Canada.
Conrad was saying, there are specific things that we don't cover, and that comes dental, vision,
Mental health.
anything that's cosmetic, in a sense, anything that a doctor could look at and say, "Oh, you don't need that done." They'll make you pay for. And
Mental
dental
health as
is-
well. We don't get therapy.
That one's like fucked up. There should definitely be included in that because I think it kind of matters, you know. Like the same for dental. Like if you're not able to fucking eat, I'm pretty sure that's going to affect your health. But
Yeah,
you know,
but
that's
it
just
still
me.
costs less, nonetheless. Even more, it still costs less than what Americans pay, like out of pocket. Like it's like
Yeah, we're
120
paying
per week.
So much less. People complain about the wait in an emergency room. I always ask this: any American here, if you went to the emergency room, how long would you be sitting there before you saw a doctor?
It depends.
Would you say?
Depends on what city you're in, honestly, and what
And
hospital
what
you're
your
in.
injury is.
Let's say a
10
major
to
city.
4 hours. 10 minutes to 4 hours.
Or that one person who there was that story. That person sat there for 7 hours, didn't see anybody. They left. They charged him $7,000.
Okay, there. See, that's the kind of stuff that we hear in Canada. Is that we hear from Americans complaining that our wait times are long. They are, but it's not like because of the system. It's just you show up at the hospital. There's gonna be a bit of a wait, And if someone comes in with like a broken arm and you just have a slight bruise, they're gonna get help a little before you. It's always builds up to be there.
Just as a demographic question, I'm curious. I don't think anybody here is a veteran, are they? All right, I'll take that as silence. No, I'm a veteran, and I've actually just started to use our VA system here in Indiana, and I have zero complaints. And I'm actually have mental health therapy that I'm actually starting to participate in. My medicine gets sent to my door. Like, I just have these things like, this is a great system. Why the fuck can't we have this for all of our citizens? But no, you have to serve like a minimum of 3 years to get this benefit. Oh
wait, can I actually talk about another good story recently? He reminded me of this. So around the State of the Union, they passed in the House a bill that expanded health insurance for veterans who were suffering from burn pits in Afghanistan, and that officially passed the Senate. It passed like somewhere between like 83 and 89 votes, and so that's on its way to Joe Biden's desk for expansion.
When
it should be it's not just sure.
When that was months ago, I remember hearing about that.
It passed in the House months ago. It just passed like within the last week or two in the House or in the Senate.
Well, they need to blow that up. That's for both parties, if they want to be.
Well, yes, also because every single House Republican voted against it. No, not every single House, but that might have been the one 13 voted against. I forget which terrible thing they vote, which terrible way they vote.
Yeah, you lose track.
Did we lose Desmond?
I think maybe it's just like a camera off thing. Also, I'm gonna walk away for a second, but just because I'm gonna grab a drink.
Okay.
No, you didn't lose me. I had just someone knocked on the door, so I didn't want to interrupt everything really quickly.
Just want to make sure.
No,
you got the package outside.
No, someone's knocking on the door. But
if it's a white powder, don't trust it.
I mean, I've had so many particular.
There's some that are good.
I've had so many particular issues with dental care, just in general. There is no logic to me whatsoever, other than just obviously profit, that you would keep dental care separate from regular health insurance. And that's before we even get to the rest of the absurdities of our healthcare system. But like having those two separate makes no sense. It makes no sense.
That's why I was going to explain to you how important your teeth are to having a healthy goddamn life.
As if it's like separate from your body. It's just like, isn't that part of healthcare?
No, there's no vision in America.
Yeah, I was just remembering in Canada, we have to pay out of pocket for vision, right?
Well, we almost had it. In Build Back Better, Joe Manchin was going to give us one of them, and I don't remember which one it was. I don't think it was dental.
Just stop. I mean, he was never going to give up anything.
At the board, and whichever one it lands on.
It's actually it's still very annoying though, because nonetheless, even if these things aren't covered in Canada, if we had to pay out of pocket, it's still not that much. So like, if I had to pay out of pocket for vision, it's 150. If I have to pay out of pocket for dental, it's like 150. If I have to pay out of pocket for mental health, it's like 120, which is still money, but also like I had to pay $90 out of pocket even with insurance the other day here in the US. So like
I was getting hit with like $500 bill to the dentist. Like,
the dentist wiped me out.
The dentist will destroy you.
And I still gotta go.
They don't even warn you with how much it's going to be prior. They just sit you down and start working, and you're like, "Well, hold the fuck up. I want to know how."
Yeah, they didn't tell me until they were done, and then they said it was 90, and I was like, "Okay."
Excuse me, what?
Put it back in. Put the plaque back in.
Seriously.
Can you fuck up my teeth real fast?
Well, everyone, I think we just got through all of the stories. So I think that
did we actually I want to make sure. Did everybody actually go?
Wait, Desmond, do you have one?
We did say the best for last.
Desmond wanted to shit on your take earlier about Texas.
Oh no!
Good, please do.
No, I didn't bring stories. I was just gonna let everyone else talk. Honestly,
Oh, 'cause I thought you had one for the negative.
No, I want a
Man,
narcissistic
no opinion.
moderator. What the fuck? No, make it all about you.
Well, just to pull one out really quickly here.
Are you saying that you think there's no good news? Wow.
No,
did you
I
win,
just
wait.
I didn't bring one. I just didn't bring one.
I
I always like let the guests do the talking in these things.
Oh, let us do the
Whack.
work.
I'm used to the ones that like usually talk for most of the time, and then I sit there looking at my fingernails. This is whack as shit.
My bad. My
That's
bad.
why you should be on more of these. We should.
I haven't been able to do arts and crafts this whole time.
But hey, we're gonna wrap this up here. Gonna keep it quick. I know that some of these panels are like 3 hours. This one will not even be 2. So here you are. Get back to your Sunday, everyone. So do a little bit of closing statements really quickly here. Start over to my right with 6. Just let everyone know where they can find you at after this, and if you got any final thoughts about what we just talked about.
Well, as he said, I'm Six Samurai. Just call me Six. It's so much easier. The Six Samurai is a long, drawn out idea. Anyways, same on Twitter, Twitch, variety streaming. We talk politics, but we keep it fairly calm. You won't find me just doing like straight YouTube politics, that kind of stuff. More just trying to humanize the points, if you know what I'm trying to say. But I'm not good at these whole intros. Find me on Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, all that good stuff. Thank you. I hope you had a great time. It was great meeting everyone.
All right, down to Fry.
That's it. I'm a regular guy.
All right, short and sweet. Over to Katarina.
Hello, I am an extraordinary femoid. Just kidding. Hello. Hi, I'm Kat. Yeah, I'm a lefty. I'm currently living in New York City. If you like museums, then you should probably follow me because I plan on trying to do one IRL stream per weekend, starting next weekend, going to different types of museums. So, if you like that, come through. Also, I am an astrophysicist. I study binary black hole mergers. So if you want to hear about why black holes go together, come through. Also, it seems like Frey wants to fight about some interferometers, so you can do that. Nonetheless, as I said, if you want to feel like an idiot when it comes to math, but you want to feel really smart when it comes to social interactions, you should follow me. You can find me at KATARANA_ on Twitch. And then from there, I have a link tree and it'll send you to all the other places if you're interested in such a thing. And yeah, thanks for having me. And also, thank you, Internet, for not falling apart. Very nice of you. Okay.
Yeah, New York.
You can thank Desmond.
Nice. All right, over to Sen.
All right. I thought in my ending statement I would also plug a third good thing that happened because I was involved with it. Hi, I'm Sun Streams. I do 2 things. I regularly stream on Twitch, and I help book a panel called Sonarcast. And on that panel, we just raised $1,000 for the Innocence Project. And which is
Actually fucking awesome, dude.
Which is a program that is centered around ending wrongful convictions, especially ones that tend to lean racist. And we hit our goal, and I think we actually went over it to like 1,300 or something. That we raised over $1,000 for this program. If you want to find me, you can either look up Stonercast on YouTube, and we have a different host for that. I book it, and if you want to get on it, you can also reach out to me. And additionally, if you want to find me, just me streaming, I stream at twitch.tv/sunstreams, exactly how it's spelled in my name right here.
All right, finally, Fresh Faces, New Ideas.
Yeah, I'm Fresh Faces New Ideas. I stream politics during the week. You can usually find me around 7 to 9 EST. You can find me on twitch.tv/Fresh Faces New Ideas, and you can find me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. That's what I do. I talk politics. I do basketball too. I with Productive Conversations and with Desmond for that. I do want to say that I got everything right that I said about Game 6. Both that Boston needed to be up by 10 within 5 minutes of the game, and that Golden State was going to win. So
yeah, we'll get to that.
I love sports ball.
Sports ball is great, and I'm super excited for the sports ball draft on Thursday. So yeah,
I didn't think we'd get more nerdy than the conversation already was. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming here today to this panel. We will be trying to do more of these in the future. Thanks to everyone who's watching on Twitch and on YouTube. Thanks to all my panelists for being here. Independent Thought is the podcast that I run. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Please check us out, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.